I'm here today with Tina Behr. Hi, Tina.
Hi.
And Ronica Roth. Hi, Ronica.
Hello.
And we're going to have this great conversation about your perceptions of Agile today. I want to start off with a softball question, something that is on the mind of every Agile coach, everyone who's run Agile transformation. We always see gaps in how business leaders want to operate and how teams collaborate on delivering Agile. What are you seeing out in the field today that maybe is the same as the last 5-10 years and maybe what's a little bit different?
Do you want to start? I'll start. What I think one of the things that's a little bit different, and I was having this conversation earlier today, is I think more organizations know going in that it's not just about a bunch of process change, that it's an actual cultural change. Mm-hmm. Whether leaders know that it starts with them, sometimes not. Whether teams know that they're going to have to, not just act differently, but think differently and talk differently and feel differently. So they may not know how it applies to them specifically, but I think more people know that coming in, which is great because that was always true. We just couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree that that's certainly something that we're seeing more of, is people talking about Agile mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think things that go along that are counter to that, if you will, are still folks digging in their heels of, Agile schmagile. We're already doing that. We tried that before. The naysaying is still there very much. Mm-hmm. I think going back to what's working better today is leaders are recognizing more and more that really the change begins with them in any organization. Doesn't matter if I'm a leader of one team or I'm the CEO. The change has to start with me. I have to embrace those mindsets, those behaviors, more importantly, to get the mindsets adopted by those around me. It's getting some of the folks who've been through bad transformations in the past mm-hmm. to shift their behaviors to actually adopt Agile and be better and quicker at their delivery of whatever that delivery is.
I agree. I remember my first times doing Agile with teams, and our business leaders would say, you go do your Agile thing over there and we'll continue doing what we're doing over here. And I said, well, that might work for a little while, but at some point these two intersect. So I'm wondering, what do you say today when the team comes to you and says, we really want to do Agile, we really want to do maybe Scrum and sprints, we really want to be multidisciplinary, but our organization is still asking us to plan in waterfall methodologies. Give us year-long plans, 3-year roadmaps, commit yourself to something that you're going to deliver in 9 months. How do you coach in between those two boundaries of, I want to be Agile, but I also need to deliver what my organization's asking for?
So I think for me, when working with teams that want to change, generally those are teams who have recognized that something about their process is causing them pain. Mm-hmm. So alleviating their pain, whether that's through coaching them to do Kanban, Scrum, just fixing what's broken in the process is helpful, and it's beneficial to show, hey, this Agile thing can help fix little things along the way. And much like children getting new toys, every kid wants the new toy when they see that how much fun it is to play with. So it helps to give you somewhere to start, and ultimately you end up with a conversation with the leaders in the organization of, this can only go so far as a team function only, as a development technical function. The value of agility really is at the enterprise level when everybody's working to achieve value faster.
Your thoughts, Ronica?
Well, one of the things I want to say to those teams is, it's okay that you're being asked for forecasting. Agile is not permission to say, no, I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to build. I'm not telling you when I'm building it. I'm Agile, mm-hmm. right? I'm going to learn as I go. And that, the finance guy, the CFO is going to be like, well, I don't get to not forecast.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Very true.
It's a sign of maturity of our business that we can forecast, how we're going to perform. So there is something in the middle there, and so maybe I would counsel those leaders to expect something different out of that planning, right? So it's not a commitment 9 months in advance, but certainly it could be a set of outcomes and some hypotheses as to how we're going to achieve those outcomes, and maybe some rich conversation about how agility at the team level is going to manage the risk of those plans, right, and of getting to those outcomes. And then turn to the team and say, okay, great, now we have all these tools at your disposal to get you to those outcomes, or to learn really fast that that's not going to be possible. I'm going to think about a company I'm working with now, going through a digital transformation, and kind of everything was going fine, but then a couple things, like there's some confusion about what are the things you're building that you're actually building, and what were the ones that were experiments again, and the CEO's getting nervous because another project, an IT project, is delayed, and so now kind of like, whoa, what are we doing? Can I get some more clarity about what it is you're working on, and what can I expect when? And she's not afraid of experimentation and learning. She's just like, which ones were the things we were executing on? Which ones were the things where we're doing market research? Like, can we just be really more clear about that?
Yeah.
And I think that is the key, right? Whether your transformation starts from the team level or starts from the top down. The transparency and the visibility of what we're executing on, what are experiments, what's the kind of fuzzy stuff in the middle. It has to be very clear across the enterprise in order to keep the buy-in and keep the momentum. Ambiguity is the one thing that will kill any effort. Doesn't matter if it's transformation or just getting the kids to the baseball game on Saturday. Ambiguity will kill your ability to do that successfully.
Right.
So what do we say, to the teams, right? Some of those teams don't want clarity. They hide behind it sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm working on technical debt. I'm planning a POC around something. I'm doing stuff. I'm answering the latest stuff, right? And
Can't wait to see it in the demo.
exactly.
Yeah.
Demo.
The whole system demo by every team all together every 2 weeks.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's a great stuff. Yeah, when you say, great, you're going to demo that in 2 weeks, suddenly the stuff becomes tangible.
Real fast,
Or they
right?
get really better at hiding it, and then it shows up in 3 sprints.
Well, and I'm going to go back to something that Anne-Marie said during the keynote today around, it's about creating an ecosystem, right? So what's the ecosystem that caused the instinct to hide? It's not a bad person who can't handle accountability. It's the ecosystem up to now has punished whatever, and so hiding is safer. So how do we create a very clear ecosystem in which the transparency leads to better decisions, better value stories, you're working on things that matter, and so that safety has to be reinforced constantly over and over again, which starts at the top and is a cultural shift.
And, that's one of the organizations that I worked with, and that statement just brought me right back to this. I had, I think, 21 Kanban teams and 30 Scrum teams in the data lab at this big financial institution. And everybody's learning, quite frankly, how to spell agile at this point, and then how to spell Scrum and Kanban and know the difference. Going through, everybody's getting all competitive now, because these are data geeks, and I don't know how much you've worked with data people, but they're pretty competitive, right?
Yep.
And so they wanted to have a competition, and my focus with those groups were to help them understand failure from learning. If I learn from that failure, it's a win, right? So let's try some new experiments. And so I came up with a competition and didn't tell them what the criteria really was, just that they had to come up with an experiment to make their world, their work, better and more transparent. at the end of the competition period, we gave an award and a big party, pizza party, and beers at the local bar around the corner out of my pocket to the team that had the biggest failure but learned the most about why they failed.
Oh, wow, the gap.
And it really drove home that, not only with all of those teams, but also the 30 other coaches that were there trying to get their different groups to learn how to do Scrum and how to do Kanban. It's really about making that culture where learning, even learning from failure, is celebrated. The culture that Ronica just mentioned, failure is, in that situation, seems like it's been a point of abuse more than, did you learn anything from that failure?
Right.
We failed, but did we learn?
Right.
How can we make it better? If that's not being done in organizations, no amount of change is going to cause a betterment
Right.
in the culture.
Well, and you have to create an opportunity to practice over and over again.
Exactly.
So that, the demo I just instituted a demo at a company where the script, if you will, or the template, why was this the most important work?
Mm-hmm.
What value is this working toward, or what outcome is it working? So remind us, every 2 weeks, we're all mired in our own stuff.
Right.
Remind us why we're doing it. And then another part of the template is, what'd you learn? So what'd you
Yeah.
plan to do? What'd you learn?
Love that.
And if the first time I had to ask why to every group, and why was that? And then now the next thing is to practice and not to get me to do it, but to get their executive to do it. And not that she doesn't already think that way, but to say it out loud.
Yeah.
And what did you learn? And what did you learn?
I love that.
That's great. Love that so much.
I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm a big fan of hearing, promoting not just meeting your acceptance criteria and clicking done, but we're actually learning something even when we can't say that we've accomplished exactly what we sought out to do.
Yeah.
What are you saying to teams, that where the executive group wants better technology, better experiences, better data, wants better execution, is willing to, walk around planning and let teams figure out its path, but the teams are so used to the way they were working in terms of, give me a firm requirement so I can go code it, right? And now they're being asked to help and partner on solutioning. What are you saying to them as a key piece of advice? Why are we doing agile here, and what's the benefit for them?
So I'll say, at least in my case with the team, most of the teams that I've worked with in the past, one of the primary sources of frustration for the technicians is they get brought a specification document. I's are dotted, T's are crossed, it's 130 pages. But nowhere does it tell them why they're building this, why they're adding this thing to the product. And we'll get, 2 sprints, 4 sprints, whatever, into building it, and some genius on the team will go, hey, wait a minute, this just doesn't make any sense. This is going to break something else that's a regulatory thing. And then they don't want to speak up because now they have to go to change control board. So it's really talking to them, and again, going back to the what's in it for them. What's in it for me? Well, what's in it for me as a developer on that organization is I'm not having somebody who's not as familiar with my code as I am tell me how to change the code. They're telling me what they need and why they need it, and allowing me the autonomy and the respect that I deserve to build it in a way that meets that objective. Having that conversation with technicians, at least in my experience so far, with few exceptions, you know who you are, has been really successful in getting teams on board with trying new ways of working.
Yeah. Last word.
Well, and then it goes back to how do you create the environment in which that can really happen and it's really safe. So in the past, coding to the spec was safe. Never got in trouble for doing that, even when it caused trouble, but you didn't get in trouble for doing it. So how do I create a space in which that team really can bring solutions instead of just kind of executing. And so, how do I create an environment? How do I, an empowered product person guiding the way, bringing them closer to customers, and paying attention to how you create psychological safety, where it's safe to have ideas, even bad ones, and try things and fail fast and blah, blah, blah. But we have to keep reinforcing that safety. And so you reinforce it during sprint planning, you reinforce it during daily stand-up, you reinforce it during retrospective and demo over and over and over and over again, as a practice, and then we practice together. And then people can step in to have that fun work.
So some things don't change. I'm hearing learning, I'm hearing safety, I'm hearing respect for everybody on the team.
Absolutely.
I'm hearing agile mindsets and leadership responsibilities. Ronica, Tina, thank you for joining me for today for this great talk around agile.
Awesome, thank you.
It was fun.
Thank you.